Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or The Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going over my week number 3 top 5 defenses to stream. But before we can get on into these defenses to stream for week number 3, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. And if you do want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at Notorious FNTSY. I would also like to ask that if you guys have any questions about week number 3, or since this video is posted on Monday and there's actually 2 games going on tonight, if you have any questions about tonight's game, let me know down below in the comment section. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. We begin with the Dallas Cowboys going up against the New York Football Giants in MetLife this week. Currently, the Dallas Cowboys defense is owned in 41% of leagues on Yahoo Fantasy. So if you play on ESPN, CBS, NFL, any of those other fantasy football platforms, then the ownership percentage is going to be slightly different. In week number 2, up against the Cincinnati Bengals, the Dallas Cowboys defense was incredibly good, and the offense also turned heads. Now, I know that the offense isn't what we're talking about here. We're talking about the defense. I just figured I would mention that. So week 2, up against the Bengals, the defense had 6 sacks and 17 points allowed. Now, a question I have been trying to answer in my head is, are the Cincinnati Bengals just not the Cincinnati Bengals from last year in the playoffs? They make their offensive line better in the offseason, but it doesn't seem to fucking help them at all. They have Joe Burrow. They have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, Hayden Hurst. All of these incredibly talented players, but for some reason, things aren't clicking. Things aren't working, and Joe Burrow's offensive line, despite getting quote-unquote better in the offseason, is still a turnstile that is getting Joe Burrow absolutely murdered in these games. Just a question I have. I mean, I do think the Dallas Cowboys defense is definitely good. They look pretty decent up against the Buccaneers in week number 1. It's just the fact that Dak Prescott and that offense could not get it up. They just could not do anything. In week number 2, the Carolina Panthers defense went up against the New York Football Giants in New York. In that game, the Panthers defense had 3 sacks and 19 points allowed. I personally believe that the Dallas Cowboys defense is better than the Panthers defense. I understand that the Giants are 2-0 right now, but it's not really because Daniel Jones took that next step up. He took that giant leap in his career. It's just because Saquon Barkley plays pretty well when you give him the ball. The defense has looked pretty solid for the Giants. So at the end of the day here, going up against Daniel Jones, who is just so fucking prone to turning the ball over, whether that's throwing an interception or fumbling the ball, I think the Dallas Cowboys defense, honestly, might end up being the number 1 defense at the end of the week. So I definitely would be looking to pick up the Cowboys defense right now. The number 2 defense to be streaming this week is the Kansas City Chiefs, going up against the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis. Currently, the Chiefs defense is owned in 36% of leagues on Yahoo. Now, week number 2, the Chiefs defense up against the LA Chargers had 2 sacks, 1 interception, 1 touchdown on that 99-yard pick on Justin Herbert, the pervert, when he went to throw the ball to Gerald Everett. And then the Chiefs defense allowed 24 points in that game. Now, going into the year, and even going into last week, I was excited about the Colts. I understood that the Colts tied up against the Texans, and obviously, it's not great to tie up against the Texans. But in my mind, I was like, oh, that's a bit of a fluke. Kind of like how the Cincinnati Bengals week 1 performance seemed like a bit of a fluke. And I was like, you know what? Even without Michael Pittman, Matt Ryan will be just fine, right? They're going up against the Jacksonville fucking Jaguars. This isn't the Jaguars defense from a couple of years ago with Jalen Ramsey when they were one of the best defensive units in the NFL. This is the Jacksonville Jaguars of 2022. So there's no worry at all. The Jaguars defense is going to get bent over a fucking table by Matt Ryan. And then we saw what happened on Sunday. Week 2, Jaguars defense up against the Colts. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 sacks up against Matt Ryan. 3 interceptions and 0 points allowed. Again, I understand Michael Pittman Jr. wasn't there on Sunday, and it's possible that he's back in week number 3 up against the Chiefs. But I'm starting to fucking panic about the Indianapolis Colts offense. If the Colts get rolled in this game, if they get Cleveland steamered by the Chiefs offense, and they can't do anything, in that game, if the Colts offense can't get it up, they're in need of a Viagra, then I honestly think Frank Reich is on the hot seat, and Frank Reich might get canned. Last year, everyone blamed Carson Wentz. Rightfully so. Carson Wentz isn't very good, but everyone, including myself, thought Matt Ryan was the answer there. Doesn't appear he was the correct answer because this Colts offense looks awful. Which makes the Chiefs defense, that is pretty decent. Again, not a world-beating defense. Definitely a must-add defense on the week. The next defense here, we move to the New Orleans Saints. Now, the Saints are owned in a decent amount of leagues, 60% of leagues on Yahoo. They're going up against the Carolina Panthers this week in Carolina. Week number 2 up against the Tampa Bay Bucks. 1 sack, 1 fumble recovery, 14 points allowed. The reason why the Saints lost that game, obviously the Bucks defense looked good, but it's really because Jameis Winston turned back the clock, right? We're used to last year before he got hurt, and even in week number 1 of this year, this isn't the Jameis of the past, the Jameis that turns the ball over. But last week, it looked like Jameis forgot that he had fucking LASIK eye surgery, and the man was looking like Stevie Wonder in that game. It was absolutely terrible. But the Saints defense is actually really good, and now they get the Panthers, and I honestly don't know who to blame for the Panthers. It has to be the coach. Like, I understand Baker Mayfield hasn't been great, but why is the game plan not just to get the ball to Christian fucking McCaffrey and get the ball to DJ Moore? Christian McCaffrey has been awful for fantasy, and it makes no sense. It makes no sense. The reason why people faded him this year, potentially, I didn't, is because they thought that he's injury prone. You didn't fade him because you thought that Baker Mayfield and this offense was going to be a complete and utter unmitigated fucking disaster. So it's crazy. And up against the Saints defense, it might even be difficult. It might be hard to get Christian McCaffrey involved. The Giants defense up against the Panthers last week on Sunday, 2 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, and 16 points allowed. This Carolina Panthers offense is not what I thought it was going to be. This Carolina Panthers offense is complete and utter fucking dog shit. I think the Saints defense will have an easy time in this game. Now, I'm hoping, for fantasy football purposes, that Christian McCaffrey absolutely steamrolls the Saints defense. But based upon what I have seen, it's not even that he's going to get the chance, because the Panthers don't want to give the ball to Christian McCaffrey, and it makes absolutely zero sense. Makes no sense at all. But the Saints up against Baker and the Carolina Panthers are definitely on top of my defenses to add on the week. Again, they are owned in 60% of leagues, but there are going to be 40% of leagues where they are available, and then if you play on ESPN or NFL, maybe they are available in a higher percentage of leagues. The 4th defense I want to be streaming on the week is the Los Angeles Chargers going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. This week, the Chargers defense also owned in a decent amount of leagues, 64% of leagues on Yahoo. In week number 2, up against the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City, the Chargers defense didn't really show up. 1 sack, 21 points allowed. Again, nothing crazy against the Chiefs, right? They didn't get absolutely destroyed by the Chiefs, but nothing great compared to what the Chargers defense on paper looks like. On paper, the Chargers, in my opinion, have one of the best defenses in the AFC as well as in the whole National Football League. Now, last week, the Jaguars made the Colts defense look like they weren't even there. 24 points allowed. The Colts didn't get a sack, an interception. They weren't even really hitting Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence just stood there. He was chilling out. He took a fucking vacation in the pocket, whipped out one of those cool chairs that you can lay back on, and he had like a mirror on his face. You ever seen those pictures? I don't know who the hell actually does that, but a nice mirror on his face. He's just chilling. Straight chilling in the fucking pocket. He had all day. And the Colts defense should be good. It should have been a good matchup for the Colts, and they sucked. They shit the bed in that game. But the Chargers up against the Jacksonville Jaguars is a completely different story. Now, again, I'm happy for the Jaguars. If you're a Jaguars fan, you are absolutely pumped to throttle the Colts defense like that. You were so excited. And I'm excited too, right? I don't hate the Jaguars, but the Chargers defense is a whole different beast. The Chargers offense is a whole different beast. Now, my only worry is that if Justin Herbert doesn't play, that maybe this game just gets ugly because the defense isn't as, they might not be trying as hard because they're like, oh, what happens if Chase Daniel just plays like bad. Like, if he just doesn't have a good game, and then the Chargers defense just kind of takes a nap. That does happen in some games, and that's my only worry. But I think even Chase Daniel will play decent up against the Chargers because of their coaching. So I think that the Chargers defense will be just fine, but that is my one slight worry. If I was to have any worry, it's that Herbert doesn't play, and then maybe the defense kind of just takes a bit of a nap in that game. That's something that happened all the time to my Miami Dolphins. When the offense wasn't looking good, they would just give up. So before we got into the final defense to stream in today's video, I would like to give you guys a quick word from our friends, our sponsors today's video. They've been on your screen this whole entire time. Underdog Fantasy. Are your best ball teams already cooked? Well, you can head on over to Underdog Fantasy to resurrect them in their Week 6 through Week 17 best ball tournament. Entry fee is only $10 with $500,000 in total prizes and $100,000 going to first place. All you got to do is draft your team. That's it. You don't have to worry about waivers. Don't have to worry about calling up your friends trying to make trades. You don't have to worry about even editing your lineup, because at the end of every week, Underdog will automatically give you the best lineup possible. And Underdog also features daily and best ball contests for the MLB, NBA, PGA, and NHL, so you can get action on the site all year long. All you got to do is click on the link in the video description down below, or use promo code Stokastic, Stokastic, to get a first match deposit bonus of up to $100 with Underdog. So you deposit $100, they will give you an additional $100. Make sure you guys check it out. I think it's very fun to do drafts in fantasy football. My favorite part about fantasy football, I talk about this all the time, is the draft. I love drafting, so now you can even draft during the season, so make sure you guys do go ahead and check that out. Back on into the video though, my final defense to be streaming on the week. This is a deep cut, right? The first 4 defenses I like a lot. The final defense, there weren't that many options that I actually liked, so we're going to go with the low-owned play with a decent amount of upside. The Seattle Seahawks going up against the Atlanta Falcons and Marcus Mariota, 2% ownership on Yahoo of the Seahawks defense. Week 2 up against San Francisco, in San Francisco. Oh, you hate to see that for Trey Lance. And that's not a, you hate to see that, like, trying to be funny. That's a genuine, you hate to see that. That sucks for Trey Lance. I don't know why Shanahan called that play where he got hurt, but it is what it is. It is what it is. That obviously sucks. I hope Trey Lance has a speedy recovery. I was a big Trey Lance guy. I like Trey Lance a ton. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be just fine with the 49ers, but I was so excited to see the upside of Trey Lance. With that said, the Seattle Seahawks got absolutely folded by a table that the fucking Buffalo Bills fans light on fire and jump through. 1 sack, 27 points allowed up against that Niners offense in San Francisco. In week 2, the Rams defense up against the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta. Now, obviously, Nick, don't you know that the Rams defense is better than the Seahawks? Of course. But it just shows that the Atlanta Falcons offense can get exposed. 3 sacks, not 1 but 2 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery, and 19 points allowed up against the Falcons. Again, do I think the Seattle Seahawks are the Legion of fucking Boom from the past? No, I don't think that. But do I think that the Seattle Seahawks could get multiple sacks or maybe force an interception up against Marcus Mariota in the Falcons offense? Yes. And real quick, not to go on a rant, because we're going to go on a rant in the tight end video. What the fuck is Arthur Smith doing with Kyle Pitts? Came out that Arthur Smith said, they asked him, hey, why are you not throwing the ball to Kyle Pitts? And he said, this isn't fantasy football. We don't care about fantasy football. All we care about is winning. Well, don't you think, Arthur Smith, that the best way to win the game is by throwing the ball to your best players? I understand Drake London's eating, but why is Kyle Pitts not getting the ball? It's a big question. Seattle Seahawks up against Atlanta. Again, this is sneaky. This is a deep cut. This isn't a, holy shit, you got to pick up the Seahawks. But if your defenses on the waiver wire aren't looking the best, and the defense you got on your team right now isn't looking the best, then go ahead and roll out the Seattle Seahawks again, off the chance that they play really good, like they did up against Denver, up against the Atlanta Falcons. Thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you did end up enjoying, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below, as well as hitting that like button. It would help me out a ton. And if you do want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at Notorious, FNTSY. Thank you guys again so much. I love all of you guys, and I hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. As always, make sure you check out Underdog Fantasy as well. Love you guys. Goodbye.